Vishakam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Nanda Radha Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavane Vishakhavadute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Shri Vasadi Gaurabhakta Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, everybody. Thank you for joining in. So today we are very, very fortunate to have among us Vraj Kishori Devi Dasi, who will be, Mataji's Prabhuji as well for us. So Prabhuji is with us and she's been coming to our group, but today she's coming as a mentor and we are very fortunate to have her. Prabhuji has served the Londoneshwar temple. So she is from London, for those who are in Eldoret and Nairobi. She's joined us all the way from there. She, in her young days, used to run a newsagent shop. So she had a shop. And somebody came to her shop and gave Prabhupada's book to her. So again, a success story of somebody getting benefited by Prabhupada's book. And she first started with Ishopnishad, and after that, she was a young mother at that time, and she was with the family, and the children were growing up, but she stuck to Krishna consciousness, and now she serves at the London ISKCON temple. Her main service is in the Pujari room. So we are really fortunate. We are getting blessings right from the deities. So how fortunate. Where is Eldoret? A small, small, small town in Africa, in Kenya, somewhere. And there, here we have somebody who is such a high platform. So we are really, really, really fortunate to have her amongst with us. Prabhuji, Danvat Pranam. On behalf of everybody on this group, please accept our humble obeisances. And thank you for getting the time to join us in this group. Prabhuji, we are reading the Bhagavad Gita as it is, and we are on chapter 8. And chapter 8 is called Attaining the Supreme. And it's a very important topic. So we are really grateful if you can guide us with text 25. So today we are doing text 25, and the format will be the same as we have every day. We'll repeat the text 3 times, and we'll read the word to word, we'll read the translation, and then we'll read the purport, which is a small purport by Srila Prabhupada. And then we'll reflect on it for some few minutes and then hand over to Mataji. So let's enjoy her association and let's start. So Shashwin, do you feel like reading? Are you capable to read the text? Text 25, yes. Hare Krishna. Okay.
Hare Krishna. Dhumo ratris tada Krishna Sannasa Dakshinayam Tatra Chandram Masham Jyotritir Yogi Prapyam Nivartate. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Shashwin. Kumar Prabhuji, is it possible for you to read?
Yes, Mataji.
And we'll repeat after you.
Tumo ratristada Krishna
Tata Krishna
Sanmashatashinayanam
Sanmasadakshinayam
Tatra Sandramasam Jyotir
Chandramasam
Jyotir
Yogi Prapya Nivartade.
Yogi Prapya Nivartate.
Hare Krishna. Soni Mataji, is it possible for you to read?
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Domoratris tata Krishna.
Dhumoratri Tata Krishna
Shanmasa Dakshinayanam.
Sanmasadakshinayam
Tatra Chandramasham Jyotir.
Tatra Chandramasam Jyotir
Jyotir
Yogi Prapya Nivartate.
Yogi Prapya Nivartate. Hare Krishna. Smita Mataji, would you like to read? Would you like to try today?
The
Text. So you'll say Dhumo Ratris.
yeah. Dhumoratris tatha Krishna
Dhumo
Dhumoratri Tata
Krishna
Shanmasa Dakshinayanam
Dakshinayam.
Tatra Chandra Masam Jyotir Yogi Prapya Nivartate.
Yogi Prapya Nivartate.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Lata Mataji, is it possible for you to do the word to word, please, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji. Duma,
Duma,
smoke,
smoke,
Ratri,
Ratri,
night,
night,
Tata,
Tata,
also,
also,
Krishna,
Krishna,
the fortnight of the dark moon,
the fortnight of the dark moon,
Satmasa,
Satmasa,
the 6 months,
the 6 months,
Dakshinayanam,
Dakshinayanam,
when the sun passes on the southern side,
when the sun passes on the southern side,
Tatra,
Tatra,
there,
there,
Chandramasam,
Chandramasam,
the moon planet,
the moon planet,
Jyoti,
Jyoti,
the light,
the light,
Yogi,
Yogi,
the mystic,
the mystic,
Prapya,
Prapya,
achieving,
achieving,
Nivartate,
Nivartate,
comes back.
comes back.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Avinash Prabhuji, is it possible for you to read the translation?
Okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
The mystic who passes away from this world during this smoke, the night, the fortnight of the waning moon, or the 6 months when the sun passes to the south, reaches the moon planet, but again comes back.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Ravi Prabhuji, is it possible for you to read the translation and we can repeat after you? So you read 3-4 words and then we repeat after you.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you. I will do that. The mystic who passes away from this world
The mystic who passes away from this world
Passes away from this world
during the smoke,
during the
during the
smoke,
smoke,
the night, fortnight
The night
the night, the fortnight
of the waning moon,
of
of the
the
waning
waning
moon,
moon,
or the 6 months when the sun passes
or the 6 months
Or the
when
6
the
months
sun
when the sun
passes
passes
the
to the
south,
south,
reaches the moon planet,
reaches the
reaches the
moon
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 planet,
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 but again comes back.
but again
but
comes
again
back.
comes back.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, there is a lot of noise coming from your background, so I have muted you. But you can unmute when you want to talk. Hare Krishna Prahlad, would you like to read the purport? Purport by Srila Prabhupada.
Yes.
Thank you.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Right.
In the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, we are informed that those who are expert in fruitive activities and sacrificial methods on earth attain to the moon at death. These elevated souls live on the moon for about 10,000 years by demigod calculations and enjoy life by drinking some somarasa. They eventually return to earth. This means that on the moon there are higher classes of living beings, though they may not be perceived by the gross senses.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prahlad. It was a very small purport and we can reflect on it. Anybody would like to discuss this purport, this text?
So what time is this that we're talking about? In month, day, time. When is this fortnight of the waning moon? When is this?
Prabhuji, I'm really sorry. We really can't hear you. We can't make what you are saying.
Apologies. So when is
Okay. Anybody else would like to reflect on it? It's a small purport. Maybe I can start and keep the ball rolling. Smita Mataji, you have unmuted. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I was, but I'll let you carry on first. I'll let you start.
Okay. So this is we are talking of the death, and the previous verses were also telling us that okay, if you die in this way, you will attain Krishna. So there is another way. If you passed on during the smoky night when the moon is waning, and 6 months in the Shukla Paksha or south, I think, then you will attain the moon planet. So we were told that at the time of death, whichever, so there are lots of demigods for various stages of the day at various phases of the moon. And so when you die at this time, you will attain Ravi Bhai, this will be very useful information for you to decide where you want to go. But if you, I don't want you, but if somebody passes on at this time, they will go to the moon. And in that planet, you would live there for 10,000 years and enjoy yourselves, and you'll pass your times drinking somaras. But there's a caveat that you will still come back. Okay, so and then you have to start all over again. So Krishna is just telling us that there are various phases of the day. When you pass on at a certain time, you can attain the planet of the demigod that is ruling that. And when Prabhupada in the previous texts have said that there are so many crores of living beings, and out of that 40,000 are human forms. So one of the form is you'll be the one, you'll be able to stay in the moon because you would have acquired qualities that will keep you alive in the room, in the moon, on the moon planet. Richa Mataji, you would like to say something?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
First of all, I'm really sorry for coming late. I just got back from college.
No problem.
What I understand from this puppet is that, as we know that there are 7 planets above the earth and there are 7 planets below the earth, which are decided according to the type of actions that you've done in your previous in your current birth. So like on the time of death, there is a span of 13 days that you're given. And in those 13 days, your soul goes to the judgment of what all you have done, what all you've done, what was your purpose, that God will try to remind you that what your purpose was to do on earth and how much have you fulfilled. You will realize it yourself. This is actually given all in Vedas, the all the rituals that are performed when a person dies. So now basically according to your own realization, the soul will realize itself that what all wrong it has done, what all right it has done, and it will decide a punishment for itself. So now let's say the soul has realized that it has done good and it deserves to be on the moon planet. It will go. It will go, and God will allow it to go, because as we know that Krishna gives us our individuality always, and he will always fulfill our wishes. So in this case, whatever the soul thinks it deserves, it will choose, and it will go to such type of planet. Like if a soul has realized that it has committed so much of sin, it will choose one of the hell planets and it will go there for suffering until and unless it decides itself that, okay, now I've completed all my sins, I've paid for them, now I can go back. So again, it will come back to earth, it will be given a chance again. That is how again it goes. Even on the heavenly planets, there is a planet for your ancestors. There is a Indraloka, there is a Surya Narayan, even that is a planet. Moon is a planet. There are different. Gandharva Loka is there. There are different planets where a soul can, or Atma can decide to stay. So basically what Krishna is trying to do is that, as we discussed yesterday, that this book is not only talking to devotees, but it is also talking to non-devotees. So this book basically is trying to talk to every single person and give them Krishna is just trying to give them all the knowledge that is there, that whatever you do, whatever your actions and reactions are, you'll get according to these one positions. But in the end, when we finish this chapter, Krishna will come to a point that now you choose. Again, he'll give you the individuality. After showing you all the aspects, he's just like a teacher. A teacher will show you all the ways of solving a particular math sum, that you can use this method, you can use this method, you can use this method. But in the end, the teacher will tell you, you do or you choose the one that you think is easy for you and the one that you can learn and you can score marks in. So in the end, the choice will be left on us. That's why even in the description, Prabhupada is describing it, that there will be somrasa. Now, somrasa is basically an alcoholic beverage, which always keeps you high. And now a person who is not a devotee and who doesn't really believe in Krishna and is diverted in different ways, like alcohol, will get attracted by it. will get attracted by the somrasa, that okay, I will get to drink alcohol, I'll get to have fun for like 1,000 years, I will still be there. But then the person doesn't, or the soul doesn't realize that again it has to come back to earth. So in the end, the main point is that you will come back to earth. Whatever you do, like this particular puppet, you whatever you do, you go to moon, you drink some rasa, you live there for 1,000 lifespan. But what after 1,000 lifespan? Again, there's a question mark. What after that? You come back again on earth, you get into the same circle of action and reactions. Again, you perform your duty. Then it's the same cycle. It's just that Krishna is showing us aspects and is giving us options. Now you choose wisely what you want. Either you come back to me, or you go through all this pleasure and all the, again, miseries of life, because there is even miseries on heavenly planets, apart from Vaikuntha, apart from Golukadam, where Krishna is residing. So this is basically my perspective or my understanding of this. But Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Richa Mataji. I know Avinash Prabhuji, you've got your hand raised, but we overtook Smita Mataji, who wanted to contribute. Sorry, Mataji, can you kindly unmute and give your realization? Smita Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Kirtika Mataji. No.
Vishaka Mataji, I'm muting you because there is a little bit of disturbance from your end.
Sorry,
It's
sorry.
okay. It's okay, Mataji. Okay, Smita Mataji, you don't want to contribute? Okay, then we move on to Avinash Prabhuji. After Avinash Prabhuji, Prahlad. Avinash Prabhuji, kindly unmute.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Just reading on this verse actually. And if you think, you know, where it says yogi, yeah, the mystic. So I was just thinking this actually relates to yogi. So maybe Vraj Kishori Mataji can confirm this. But having said that, the purport by Srila Prabhupada are saying that Kapila Muni mentions those who are expert in fruitive activities and sacrificial methods on earth attain to the moon at death. So it's to do with, again, it's to do with the karma kanda, part of the ladder, where people have to do some sacrifice and for the fruitive activities. So that's one of the things which I was reading, and also other thing which came to my realization. Actually, if you think of a moon is actually energy of the Lord. It is part of the energy of the Lord. So you see, sun, moon, all others are actually part of the energy of the Lord. So by attaining that, you are just going to the one of the energy of the Lord, and you're not actually achieving that goal. So that is brief, just realization for myself, and I'll let others to do their realization. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you very much. And I think you made a very important point, because if we had to explain these to the youngsters, they would say, oh, astronauts have gone on the moon, and there's no life on the moon and you can't be supported. But this is, as you mentioned, and I've just realized it, is talking of the energy, one of Krishna's energy, like one of his effulgence, probably one of his energy that we will be enjoying. Maybe this is the way we can explain to youngsters, but maybe Mataji will tell us. Prahlad, we move over to you.
My realization will also be brief, because all I have to say is that at this chapter that we're in, we're learning on attaining the supreme from learning how he is and who he is back in chapter 7, we're now trying to know how to attain him. And of course, that is not an easy process, because to some it may feel like a very great sacrifice to lose their own body here in this planet, especially those who are very materialistic and just seek to have material objects and enjoy themselves with material things. But here in the previous text as well, we were starting to get more information on how our death is meant to be, like whenever it's in the light or under the influence of the fiery god, or at an auspicious moment, or during the fortnight of the moon, and the 6 months when the sun travels north. That is when, that's like the optimum place whereby once we pass on, that is when we attain the impersonal Brahmajyoti. We are told that it is possible, whether it's accidental or by arrangement, it is still possible for that time to come whenever the body passes on during that time. And we were told that also during this time, whichever demigod is during that time, because there are different, time zones. So during that time, that specific designated demigod will, be in charge of taking your soul to where it's meant to be. We were told in one of the previous classes, I think so, was it yesterday or day before yesterday? So now today is when we are told, the most not totally optimal times whereby we are meant to pass on. And this is when there is during the smoke, the night, the moonlight fortnight, or in the 6 months when the sun passes to the south, or whoever reaches the moon planet. Now we're told that person, instead of going to at least the Brahma Jyoti or going back to Godhead, they come back. They come back here. And that, of course, is not what we're aiming for after all this knowledge that we may have probably gained, unless it may have proved to be insufficient. That's when I'll agree that maybe we can come back during that time. Like, as I always say, maybe we may have not done, we may have not done, read the scriptures, and probably we were just indulging ourselves, with kirtan. We love kirtan, so we were doing it the whole time. So when we come back, the process starts slowly by slowly adding upon, and then we slowly start improving ourselves. Yeah, so that's how we are told that, and we're also told here that in the third canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, probably we will reach that phase and get even more information. We are told that those who are expert in fruitive activities and sacrificial methods on earth attain to the moon at death. And we are told that these souls live on the moon for 10,000 years and enjoy life by drinking somarasa. So I believe, like, since we are not aiming for the moon or going there at the time of our death, we really want to go to a place whereby we don't come back, we're there eternally. And that is only being, going back to Godhead. So we were told previously about different sacrifices that one, makes as an offering, and then they go to that specific planet. And then they stay there, and then they eventually come back. And when they come back, they probably realize that, oh, now is the time that I've realized enjoyment is not in that place really that they say is enjoyment, that spiritual planet that they say there is enjoyment, but it is going back to Godhead that is truly enjoyment and eternal happiness. Then we are told here finally that this means that on the moon there are higher classes of living beings, though they may not be perceived by the gross senses. So what I'm seeing here or understanding here on what Srila Prabhupada is trying to tell us is that, most people, they perceive it as very materialistic, like I believe as you, Mataji, and Avinash Prabhu have said, like some youngsters might say that, oh, NASA has, set foot on the moon. We have things on the moon right now. But here we are given an explanation that there are higher classes of living beings, but they may not be perceived by the gross senses. So we're looking at it from a materialistic view that man has set foot on the moon, but we're not looking at it from a spiritual kind of view. We're not seeing it from that sort of spiritual eye. Like I think so in one of the texts, I think so it was text 1 or text 2, whereby we are told that, I don't know, was it Sanjaya or Dhritarashtra that had a very good and powerful, I think so it was Dhritarashtra, whereby, he's blind, but he still has sight, very powerful sight in the world of spirituality. We are supposed to perceive things, and our main aim is supposed to perceive things in a more spiritual way. And that's the only way that I believe we may be able to go to back to Godhead. And of course, when one says spirituality now these days, everyone's mind goes to yoga, and not the kind of yoga that's indicated within the Bhagavad Gita, but more of like the yoga that just involves you sitting up straight and breathing in and out very deeply in the claim of attaining peace and happiness. And even though it may not drift off towards that place, unlike the way it mostly does, some people will also think of the void, and here we're told that the void does not exist. There's nothing as the void, whereby there's completely nothingness. There is a place whereby there is eternal happiness, which is back to Godhead, going back to Godhead. It's eternal happiness, and the reason why we're not able to comprehend or understand how it is or how we get this happiness and don't want to come back and never come back is because of this, because of our senses. The eyes just tend to see whatever is material, but I believe deep within, it's the soul that actually sees these things spiritually, from a very spiritual perspective that enables us to understand more better. But of course, we can't access this sort of sight that the soul has, but we can make an attempt towards it. And this is our path of Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prahlad. I think Dhritarashtra was blind physically and also spiritually. Sanjaya had the drishti, so he was the television that Dhritarashtra could see. So it was Sanjaya's drishti that could see anything anywhere, like how you can see BBC TV sitting in Mombasa or anywhere else in the world, or Timbuktu. Like that, Sanjay could see everywhere, all over the place. Okay, thank you very much for that commentary. We learn a lot from your realization, Prahlad. So please keep on giving your realization, never shy away. Anybody else would like to contribute before I hand over to our eminent mentor today? I guess we all are excited and we want to hear from you, Mataji. So, for those who have just joined, I'd just like to let you know today we have Vraj Kishori Devidasi Mataji from London, Londoneshwar Temple in Soho, and she is attached to the deities there. She's in the Pujari Seva. So we are very fortunate that we have somebody who's in direct contact with the deities in London and who has come to mentor us today. So with those words, I'd like to invite Mataji. Can you please throw some light and tell us if we are on the right path discussing what we have discussed so far? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine. We're talking about a mystic passing away during the time when it's smoky and the night, fortnight of the waning moon. Is the main subject of this verse. Now, most people, it just want to eat, sleep, enjoy. There's nothing more in life for them. There's not at the end of the death, nothing is. It's just going to be completely blank. They just think that there's nothing after death. So they are some of those people who are not interested in spiritual life at all. But everyone goes through a very rough period in life, at least once. And some of the people who have really had a very bad time will start asking, why is it happening to me? Why did this happen to someone else? And such people will at some time come to investigate the spiritual life. Most of them would start looking for Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Kundalini Yoga, Vinayas Yoga. It's quite a lot of yogas. Now in Satya Yoga and the Treta Yoga, we just had 2 yogas. Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga. Karma Yoga was a way of life for them. But now because we are in the Kali Yoga, there's plenty of new yogas which have sprung up. And out of them, in Western world, it's plenty more. So people have a lot to choose from. If they come to the temple and find out much about Bhakti Yoga, now Bhakti Yoga, they have to practice 4 principles: no meat eating, no gambling, no illicit sex. Now that's all too difficult. Rather go to the easy ones where they can just practice for 2 or 3 hours, come home, and then they enjoy the material life. So normally people don't go for Bhakti Yoga. And if we ask them, why don't you like Bhakti Yoga? It's simple. The children are young. I have to go out to work to maintain the family. The daughter is getting married and we need money. So there's always some excuse for not practicing Bhakti Yoga. Some of them will be very clever. They will just say Bhakti Yoga, it's all for the illiterate people. It's very easy, they would say. But as Srila Prabhupada says in chapter 7, if the path of bhakti is so easy as the non-devotee class of men proclaim, then why do they take up the difficult path? Actually, the path of bhakti is not easy. The so-called bhakti practiced by unauthorized persons. Now, this is very important. People who are not authorized, they practice it. Without the knowledge of bhakti may be easy, but when it is practiced factually, according to the rules and regulations, the speculative scholars and philosophers fall away from the path. Srila Rup Goswami writes in Bhakti Rasamrut Sindhu, devotional service to the Lord that ignores the authoritative Vedic literatures like the Upanishads, Purans, and Narad Pancharatra is simply an unnecessary disturbance to the society. So some of the yogas, they are practiced just to have a strong body or a strong mind. Hatha Yoga will give you strong body and a strong mind, but other yogas give you a strong body. They just give you that, but at the end of practicing all that, you remain in the material world. The intention of practicing yoga is to go out of the material world into the spiritual world. Because yoga means to join, and we join to Krishna for eternity. In this chapter, Attain the Supreme, Lord Krishna clearly mentions that the total surrender is the straight and narrow path to Golok Vrindavan. Yet people prefer to practice the so-called yoga because the desires are very deep-rooted, and those material desires, just they won't let them come into on the path. Unfortunately, whether you practice karma yoga, there's always a probability that being distracted from the goal at the time of death. Just a simple desire, like I want a new car, I want a rasgulla, or I want to eat a samosa. That little desire is going to be a hindrance on the way back to Godhead. And Narottam Das Thakur clearly says, Janiya Suniya Vishakhainu. We know that we should not have these material desires. The material desires practicing by the bhakti yogis is diverted to the service of Krishna. But in the other yogas, it is not diverted. So it is still deep rooted. And this can distract a person at the time of death. Everyone knows that they should recite, hear, or chant the glories of God at the time of death. But a human being is imperfect and prone to make mistakes. So at the exact moment of death, the mind will not be under control. Arjun confirms that. The difficulty is the mind. Mind is very turbulent, obstinate, strong, and to subdue that mind is very difficult. Is worse than controlling a wind. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Kapil Dev taught the Sankhya Yoga to Devahuti. And that is a proper Sankhya Yoga, which will, if a mystic or a yogi practices it properly, he will eventually come to the platform of a Bhakti Yoga. So then he will be relatively safe. Now I'm saying relatively safe. No one is safe, even Bhakti yogis at the time of death, we not necessarily be safe. We can bring the life air between the two eyebrows, fix our mind on the heart, detach from the sensual enjoyment. It is still risky exercise if he makes a slight mistake of leaving the body when there is smoke, nighttime, fortnight of running the Shukal Paksha, sun is traveling south, or just the moment of leaving is inauspicious. So what happens to the person, instead of going straight to Golok, will be attracted to the moonlight. It says, Tatra Chandramasam Jyotir. Jyoti is light and Chandramasam is moon. So the moonlight, it will be attracted to moonlight and will end up on the moon. On the moon, he will enjoy the innumerable ways. Somras is a trademark of moon planet. He will enjoy for 10,000 years. Now 6 months on the earth is 1 day on moon. So it's immense enjoyment. But a yogi will have to come back on the earth again when the piety finishes. With all that long, long lifetime on the moon, life is not permanent. Moon is a jeev. At the time of partial devastation, all the demigods and the planets are annihilated. Then they remain unmanifested until the morning of Brahma, when partial creation takes place again. At this time, the yogi comes back, but he will be in a better position. Prapta punya krutam lokan ushitva shaswati sama. Suchinam srimatam gehe yoga brashto abhijayate. So he will come back into a devotee family. He can come back into a very rich family. So he will have a better chances of being able to practice yoga again. But he has to come back. That means he has to come into the cycle of birth and death. When a baby is born, everyone loves the baby and they want to hold the baby and the women gather around the baby. But when the baby starts crying, it will not stop until the baby is returned to its own mother. That's the only time the baby will become peaceful. Now we are spirit souls and our real position is at the feet of Lord Krishna. So just like the baby is not happy anywhere else, we will not be ever happy in the material world. Whatever we do, we'll be looking for happiness elsewhere because we haven't found Krishna yet. If we perform some fruitive activity, some devotees, even after becoming a devotee, we can have some calamities, one very difficult times in life. some calamities can fall on us. At that time, some devotees might think, oh, well, I'll practice some yagna or do some sacrifice. Hopefully the calamity will lessen. But that one is of the 10 offenses against the chanting the holy name. That offense will be at the number 8. To consider the chanting of Hare Krishna one of the auspicious ritualistic activities offered in the Vedas as a fruitive activity, karma kand. So any act that is not connected to Krishna will bind us into material world. It will stop us from getting out of Durga Devi's prison because it's a lockdown. At the present, London is under lockdown. If you can come out of the house and start wandering around, policemen can come and stop you. But the material world, the entire material world is a lockdown, and Durga Devi is in charge. She is a pure devotee of Krishna, but she has a thankful or a thankless task of holding us all until we purify ourselves willingly with our own free will. And once we are free, then only she will let us go. She will let us leave the material world. Then the best way to purify is by chanting Mahamantra. Srila Prabhupada mentions that anyone who chants will become purified sooner or later and will be eligible to go back to Godhead. That's all I can say.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that lovely, beautiful commentary. You took us right from the beginning. You took us through all the yogas and the various 4 regulatory principles. And then you further went on to say how easy or difficult bhakti yoga is depending on the devotee or a non-devotee. And I really like the analogy when you said the baby can go to anybody, like we can go to the moon planet or the sun planet here, there, but the satisfaction will come only when we go to our mother. So, which is Krishna, when we go to Golok Vrindavan, that is our original place. And time again, we need to be reminded, because I think we are so stupid, at least I am so stupid, that I have to be kept on reminding that that is my eternal home. This is just a hotel that I'm staying in. And our real house is back there. And all our relatives are waiting for us there. And how true about the lockdown in London. We are all suffering that. And we don't realize that we are also locked down in this material world. And we have to get the grace of Durga Devi to be free from this bondage. Thank you, Mataji, for giving us the only way to get out of this is through chanting. So, and emphasizing chanting. No one can tell us this even million times in a day is not enough. So we need to be reminded as aspiring devotees. We are very new in Krishna consciousness. And I think what you told us will help us in driving the message home. So with that, are there any questions or comments?
No matter how new a person is or how old a person, even people who are Srila Prabhupada's disciples, even they need to be reminded. Anyone and everyone has to be reminded that chanting is very important, and we must keep the devotee association to be able to remind it that Krishna consciousness is important. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Richa Mataji, you wanted to say something. You've written in the chat, but it would be nice if you said it.
Hare Krishna, I just wanted to say Dandavat Pranam to Mataji. It was a really amazing lecture. Like, I really liked it. Thank you so much for enlightening us. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Anybody else with a comment or a question? Any questions? Yes, Divesh Prabhuji, please unmute and ask. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you for the amazing class. I just learned one of the most important points, that anything you don't do in Krishna service is just a waste of time, and it bonds us. It's a very good phrase. Thank you very much for enlightening us on that as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for that comment, Divyesh Prabhuji. Any more questions or comments? Avinash Prabhuji, was your query answered in Mataji's commentary?
Yeah, that's answered. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you.
Haribo. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, if there are no more questions, we'd really like to thank Mataji. Soni Mataji, are you there? Maybe her internet is not being supported. Avinash Prabhuji, is it possible for you to thank Mataji? Sorry for ambushing you. We can unmute and chant.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you, Vraj Kishori Mataji, for enlightening us, and we were very grateful. You took us to various, actually, talking about the Karma Kanda and so on. And sorry, I've been working as well as listening to you. So thank you for your class, I would say. And I would say if everyone can unmute and glorify Vraj Kishori Mataji with Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So Hare Krishna,
Krishna Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Hare
Hare
Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare.
Vancha kalpa tarubhyascha
Kripa
sindhubhya
eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namah.
Thank you, Mataji. I enjoyed your lecture very much. So hopefully we'll be here once a week. Mataji is probably Kirtika Mataji has already booked you once a week.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, Avinash Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
If you didn't put this on the Harinam Sangha, I wouldn't even know there was a Sangha that Bhagavad Gita was being discussed. So thank
Yeah, I think it's best to put it on there so people know. Yeah, so Mataji has been putting it on nowadays on Harinam Sangha.
Okay.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Vraj Kishori Mataji ki
Mataji ki jai.
jai.
Mataji ki jai.
Sarva Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai.
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 Kripasindhu eva cha patita